Greetings, my terrifyingly disgusting humans. Welcome to an atypical rendition of Late Night Riders, where our motto is now scare, then repair. Be prepared for mountains of anxiety. But then no, we're just kidding in the end. But I bring with me today 3 stories that will rot you to your very core. Stories for you to drench your succulent teeth in. You know you found books delicious, hunger for knowledge, am I right? I'm grouping these 3 stories in what I like to call the Exile Sponges. These stories detail 3 games that are notoriously hated by the Spongebob video game community. All for different rationales that will break your souls. Just look at the audience and how rowdy they're getting. SpongeBob games typically have 2 ways they go in terms of public perception. Cult classic that steadily grows a fan base as time moves on, or a mediocre outing that takes up a spot in the lineage of okay licensed games. These games, however, have ravaged our community for years and have resulted in numerous riots and misfortune that our communities are still healing from. But today, we dive into each of them and break down what truly went wrong. Are they deserving of the hate, or are they more misunderstood in how I pronounce the word road? Let's dive into these stories and discover the truth. Our first story chronicles a disaster released in 2013, Plankton's Robotic Revenge. THQ, the original publisher of SpongeBob games, had announced their filing for bankruptcy in January. 2 months later, in March of 2013, came the announcement that Activision had acquired the rights to SpongeBob games, along with the review of this game itself. I wasn't around when the game was actively being promoted, but from what I've heard, this game actually had some hype behind it, due to its outermost similarities to a certain title. It'd been a long time since Battle for Bikini Bottom had come out, and how that basically created the SpongeBob video game community that we have today. And so when you saw Plankton's Robotic Revenge and saw that you were going to get to battle these robots as SpongeBob and his friends, you probably couldn't help but think that this might be a recreation of an iconic SpongeBob video game moment. But that just made it all the more eye-opening when the game turned out to be a piece of spongy I won't go into enormous amounts of detail here, as I've actually made a separate review of this game you can check out here, but the game's notorious reputation not only comes from the quality that it resulted in, but also for setting the tone as to how Activision would treat the franchise. People were excited for this game because THQ for a while had been struggling with putting out really great SpongeBob games, at least compared to the games they used to put out before. Sure, games like Creature from the Krusty Krab, True for Square, or even Atlantis Squarepants had their fans, but ultimately they didn't come close to the original 2 games that Heavy Iron Studios had come out with. And so when we had a brand new company taking control of SpongeBob, and also a trailer that kind of showed off a lot of similarities to one of the greatest SpongeBob games ever, you probably couldn't help but think that this game might have some promise to it. But it was just worse than mediocre. It was just so laughably bad and boring beyond belief. I have a very rocky relationship with this game currently, as I had endured a 12-hour live stream of it. I had to do this stream as a result of the funds that we raised for the Rehydrated relief, and it's safe to say I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into. First of all, the game is only 3 to 4 hours long, so I managed to complete the game I think 4 times during the relief. I still have nightmares of battling generic robots to the sound of stock SpongeBob music, and it was just a traumatic experience. I actually think that this game legit destroyed my love for streaming. I haven't really had the urge to stream ever since. I did some things here and there, to kind of help out with like certain charity events, but no, this game wrecked me. This game actually wrecked my love for streaming. I can't imagine what it would have been like to actually be hyped up for this game and to find out just what it exactly was. I talk about such a major disappointment that must have been, but that in a nutshell is why Robotic Revenge has such a tainted reputation in the community. It had some promise being the first game that Activision was putting out for the franchise, but ultimately Robotic Revenge turned out to be one of the worst SpongeBob games that came out up to that point. But then we head into our next story, SpongeBob Hero Pants. Hero Pants was the next title made by Activision, and it was based off of the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. It takes place after the movie's events, where essentially weird things are happening because someone has pages of that special book and you just have to stop them. Announced in October of 2014 and released in February, it's safe to say hype was not high for this go around. It'd be one thing if this game was just a direct copy of Robotic Revenge, then it's like, oh great, another terrible game. But in reality, this game made just about every single thing about Robotic Revenge worse. The game tosses out the weapons for basic punches and kicks, so now the only difference is having to run up to all the enemies to destroy them. This wouldn't be a huge deal if it weren't for how enormous the levels are now. I found myself growing impatient because of how long it felt like I was taking getting through all these levels on foot. Not to mention, all the levels here are basically barren wastelands. There's 3 environments with 5 levels each of them, just about as much variety as Robotic Revenge, but man, there was just something about going through these levels that felt even more excruciating than Robotic Revenge. It's like by taking out the guns, they tried to supplement it with like platforming, and I'm like, you folks don't know how to create platformers. The game does try to incentivize you to explore with a few collectibles, but it utilizes some of the most brain-dead design choices for them. There's items that you can collect only when you're playing a certain character. This is fine and all, you have 4 players, so at most each level will require 2 playthroughs, but 1, you'd have better luck getting your friends together to fly out to the moon and die than to play this game. And 2, it's a terrible way to pad out an already terrible game, especially if you're playing by yourself, which means you potentially have to play a level up to 6 times just to get all the items. And that's not all. There's also collectibles where you actually have to have a friend for. Like, you can't get the collectible unless you have someone playing with you to help you get it. I actually have to physically force someone to sit down and play this game with me just to get one of those stupid book pages. These are just some examples of what I call toxic video game design. I think this game was actually made to make you miserable, because every design choice that they made here just seemed to so obviously make the experience worse than Robotic Revenge. I don't know what they were thinking when they were making this. Maybe they got so angry about all the fans being absolutely disappointed and hating on Robotic Revenge that they were like, you think that game was bad? Let me show you bitches. If you had any hope for some semblance to Battle for Bikini Bottom, Activision was here to basically crush those dreams. It's no wonder honestly that Activision lost the license afterwards. Even Nickelodeon saw the evil that was brewing here. And we're talking about Nickelodeon. But hey, at least the jellyfish look more accurate. But now my friends, it's time to relive the days of a game that gets hated on for many reasons beyond its quality. Revenge of the Flying Dutchman.
Who dares criticize the Flying Dutchman?
Me, Mr. Talk Show Extraordinaire, sir?
Do you know why I'm here?
You wanted to come see the show?
Really, kid? I'm here because of the grave misjudgment you're about to commit.
Not ghost-proofing my show?
No.
Not eating spaghetti at 3 a.m.?
No.
Not simulating intercourse?
No! I mean hating on one of the world's treasures. Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. Do you understand how many reviews I've read that say defeating me is easier than picking an apple tree? Or videos saying I murdered Big Sky Interactive. I murdered Lamhooch and replaced him with a clone.
How productive of you.
And now it's time for you to pay the price as well.
Wait, Mr. Dutchman!
What is it?
Okay, hear me out. I empathize with you being the punchline for cruel jokes and nostalgic burns. I feel the pain of you living with a drenched reputation never to be undone. But what do you have to gain from continuing to bring death upon your naysayers? Do you not still feel that raging insecurity play itself out inside you as our generation passes down their opinions to their offspring? Sure, you've eliminated a fire, but your heart still burns for eternity.
I'll let you live if you shut up.
That's a risk I'm willing to take. Revenge of the Flying Dutchman was released in the fall of 2002, becoming the first proper 3D platformer in the franchise. Developed by Big Sky Interactive, this was released during a time where many cartoon franchises were getting their 3D debuts. The game chronicles SpongeBob's journey in recovering the treasures of the Flying Dutchman in order to stop him from permanently abducting his friends. It's easy to assume that this game is just another piece of licensed shovelware. I mean, it really doesn't look that great. Also, the choice of tying the music to the outfit you're wearing results in one of the most annoying aspects of this game. You'll use the jellyfishing outfit often due to needing to collect jellyfish throughout the whole game, but as a result, this little tune overstays its welcome. But you know what? I popped in this game and It was a lot more fun than I remembered it. The gameplay isn't anything special, sure, but the platforming is pretty solid with a decent amount of exploration. These levels, they are sort of linear, but you do have the option to kind of go into different areas when you're in a level, so you can kind of do things out of order, but not really. I don't know, it's kind of like weird in terms of where it's picky in terms of when you can do things out of order and when you can't. But I mean, I appreciate the freedom. There's also a fair amount of dialogue that SpongeBob fans can enjoy here. I know some people have said that the dialogue here doesn't really feel remotely SpongeBob, but honestly, it actually gives me a very season 1 kind of vibe. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's because this game came out that early in SpongeBob's lifetime, but I do feel like this is something that is kind of like an off-brand season 1 episode, I guess you could say. Patrick is quite an asshole in this game though.
What are you waiting for, SpongeBob? I'm missing my shows. A real buddy would get up there and make my life complete again.
Why don't I call someone whose job it is to fix it?
But I had fun, and at the end of the day, that's what games should be. SpongeBob SquarePants Revenge of the Flying Dutchman may not be anything special, but it was a fun game to me. I had fun doing the platforming, exploring the levels, collecting all the collectibles, and just kind of seeing how the story plays itself out. You know, it really is no different to me, honestly, to like Creature from the Krusty Krab in terms of quality. Yeah, I know that's a statement that's gonna get a lot of people riled up, but that's my opinion right there. So then, why is this game so hated? There's a ton of reasons beyond its quality. I would say a big downfall to this game was the fact that it came out a year before Battle for Bikini Bottom, which was basically better in every shape or form. So retrospectively, it's already seen with many unfavorable opinions. It just had a displeasure of having to precede a game that no one was expecting to be that good. There's also a bunch of controversies, I guess you could say, of this game. For example, there was a loading glitch with the PS2 version that caused the game to freeze when you enter a new or old area. Because of this glitch, the game can lose one's progress, and you might be stuck in the same area as before. There was actually a lot of complaints lodged at Big Sky Interactive because of this glitch, and they even tried to address it by fixing the game of anyone that would have sent it their way. But of course, we move on to the other controversy that this game actually murdered, I guess you could say, Big Sky Interactive, because the company went bankrupt the year after. So lots of people have speculated that because this game was like the last game they came out with, at least I think it was, I might be wrong on that, but they think that this game either was the last game they developed or had a very big hand in the reason why Big Sky Interactive went bankrupt. But actually, this is a false narrative. There's this great video by a YouTuber named Who Needs Normal that actually goes into the story of what happened with Big Sky Interactive while they were developing this game, and it actually shows direct excerpts from employees of Big Sky Interactive that sheds the light on why this company went defunct. And I definitely recommend you check out the video if you want the full story and not the narrative that a lot of people seem to love spreading. But to Spark noted, rage-inducing politics caused their downfall, not the performance of a single game. Revenge of the Flying Dutchman did not murder this company. The game also had numerous reviews that painted a negative portrait of this game. Lamhoot's review is probably the most well-known one from my eyes. I just have to say though, I never had that issue with the jellyfish challenge. I understood where he was coming from, but as a kid, I just instinctively knew that count meant the entire game, because in my mind, there was no possible way one single level could have 100 jellyfish. But maybe I'm just a genius, I mean. Who knows? But I personally think that Revenge of the Flying Dutchman has a decent amount to offer to any SpongeBob fan. If you present it to someone who's not a fan of SpongeBob, there's really nothing for them to get from this game. But I appreciated the way that they tried to utilize the SpongeBob franchise. It wasn't the most accurate depiction of the universe, but I would say it's pretty close, especially for a video game. And I had fun. I had fun interacting with all the characters and just kind of going through the adventure. It was a solid time and a game that gets way more than it deserves. As long as you go into the game with leveled expectations, I think there's something to be enjoyed here.
Dear Talk Show Man, went to buy more average size paper. Thanks for the review. Inga dinga durgan.
Whew! Thank goodness that dirty bitch is gone.
You say something, boy?
Well folks, that's pretty much everything for the most hated SpongeBob games in the world. I hope you enjoyed my horrific tales and hopefully they didn't ruin your nights. What do you think are the most hated SpongeBob games in the world? Let me know why or why not. And yeah, I really love to hear your opinions on this. But if you'll excuse me as we close out Halloween, I'm going to go play a movie. Not watch a movie, because this is a movie you play. Thank you so much for watching this video. Special shout out to the Nerd Corner, Killer Lemurs, Team Right with Sign Gamers, Johnny Hinton Ortiz, Trash Q, Abraham Muter, and Mass Muter. These are my patrons / YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member and get access to a whole bunch of different perks, then please check out the links in the description box below. But alright, this is Riders, riding out.